Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we are playing goblins, but we are playing combo goblins. So we've got 8 ways of accelerating our stuff out mana-wise here. So we've got the 4 lackeys which can just put a Muxus into play on turn 2, which often is going to be enough to win you a game. We also have 4 Ignoble Hierarch which can let us jump to the 3s on our curve, which are really important because of this card here, Food Chain. So what this card allows us to do is sack a load of goblins, make a load more mana, and just keep playing more things. So we have this card called Conspicuous Snoop. Play with the top card of your library revealed. You may cast goblin spells from the top of your library. And it also has a text, as long as the top card of your library is a goblin card, this card has all the abilities of the top card of your library. So, if we have Food Chain and Conspicuous Snoop, we can keep playing stuff off the top of our library and then sacking it and finding various bits and pieces. And this could just assemble like a Muxus win, potentially. We can just keep going, play a Muxus, get a load of good stuff, tutor out some bits and pieces. So our deck is very tutor heavy, right? So we've got these Boggart Harbingers and these Matrons here. So we're hopefully using all these things and the Ringleaders to just power out loads of goblins, cast them and beat them down. But we have a Squee the Immortal. So this, combined with Food Chain, is infinite mana. Because you exile this, get 4 mana from the Food Chain, replay it, rinse, repeat until you've got enough mana to cast everything you want. So at some point we have the Snoop and the Food Chain. We're going to find a Matron or a Harbinger and we can go and get our Squee, and then we're off to the races that way. But that's not the only combo this deck has available. If we have a Conspicuous Snoop in play and we cast a Boggart Harbinger, we put the top card of our library to be a goblin. So we put this Kiki-Jiki. This Kiki-Jiki says create a token that's a copy of target non-legendary creature you control. So the Conspicuous Snoop gains this ability, so it can copy itself and make another Conspicuous Snoop, which can then copy itself, and so on and so forth. So you can basically make infinite goblins, but they're all going to be tapped to do this. That's where the last one copies a Boggart Harbinger. This then puts a Sling-Gang Lieutenant on top of your library. Then all of your Conspicuous Snoops, you can sack them and drain your opponent out. So that's the other plan. There's probably some other bits and pieces hidden in here that we'll come to, but that's pretty much the 2 main ways of going big, and the other way is just aggroing our opponent. We've got some Furies to try and control the board. Stingscourger we can go and find to bounce something big that Fury doesn't kill, and then we're just going to try and beat through most things. We have a Trashmaster as a Lord. This is quite a good one because it lets us interact with artifacts. So we can blow up, you know, Moxes or big construct tokens or whatever. The one card here that's a bit weird to me is this guy. So this guy is a 3 mana 2/2. Whenever you attack, so it's not whenever this creature's attack, it's whenever you attack. You may sacrifice another creature or artifact. If you do, create a 4/1 black skeleton creature token with menace that's tapped and attacking. Now I think the reason this is in here is because of the initiative, which no longer, well, White Plume Adventure's been banned, and initiative has obviously fallen off because of that. But there are still people playing initiative builds trying to work out how to do it. So I imagine this was there that you can play it and just swing with whatever you played the turn before and get a menace guy to steal the initiative. So that's why I think that's in here. But we're going to leave it here for now because this is the list I found and see how it plays. That's pretty much it for the main deck. We're a sort of aggro-y, combo-y deck. I imagine we're going to not necessarily infinite that often, but we're just going to produce enough stuff that we can just drain people out with Sling Gangs. Sideboard-wise, we've got some Migrate Traps for Storm decks, some Chosen Extractions for Graveyard decks, a couple of Sudden Edicts for big things, whether that's Merit Lage tokens or just other big scary things like Singular Murkties that we need to beat. A Meltdown for Artifact decks, a few Red Blasts because we're going to need to resolve certain things to get through, so that's going to help. 3 more pieces of Graveyard Hate, and a couple of Carpet of Flowers because we're in green, so this can help us against Wasteland heavy decks. Now if you look at the mana base on our deck, we are pretty reliant on a lot of these non-basics. So we got 4 Ancient Tombs, a couple of Badlands, 4 Cavern of Souls, and a City of Traitors. So we've got a lot of stuff that can be wastelanded out from underneath us, and a couple of Tigers as well. We don't have a Swamp that we can fetch, we just got Forest and Mountain, because that's not, our deck isn't really casting a lot of black spells, it's just these guys here. And most of the time, the Sling Gang is going to be on top of our library anyway, but we can Ignoble Hierarch for a few more sources of black as well. So that's the deck. I think it should be quite a fun one. I haven't played Goblins for a very long time, so it should be interesting to see how we go. Last time I played Goblins, and I've only played Goblins about twice, I think, in my life. Last time I played it, it was like the standard pile driver-y, Ether Vial, disrupt your opponent's things I borrowed off of someone for a bit of fun. So yeah, this is what we're going with today. But before we jump into a league, it's that time where I plug the channel. Likes, comments, and subscribes. These are things that you can do that cost you nothing and really help me out, especially subscribers. As we get nearer and nearer to 1,000 subscribers, that's kind of the big monetization point for me. So if we can cross that, it'd be really nice. All right, plug over and done with. Let's jump into a Legacy League with Food Chain Goblins. Round 1, we're on the play. Our hand goes off pretty quick, right? We have the Snoop and the Harbinger. This is the combo here. So, yeah, we'll keep these. We have a choice with our Bloodstained Mire here. We kind of want to have red, so I think this has to be a Taiga. Does expose us a little bit to Wasteland, but we are playing a Mana Dork, so there is that. If this gets forced and then they Wasteland us, that would be pretty bad. But otherwise, I think we'll be relatively okay. We'll see what sort of deck our opponent's on, and hopefully that'll inform our decision as to what we play out next turn. Okay, so this represents removal. So if we're drawing a land here, so this is a bit of a tricky one here, because obviously the Lackey is quite a powerful one we can bait some stuff out with, but we're not really utilising our mana very efficiently if we do that. Now, we could just play out this Trashmaster and try and bait something out of our opponent here. I think we play our Ancient Tomb. We're kind of looking... We want to play our Snoop and our Harbinger in the same turn if possible, so we like another red source. We could always play the Lackey out, though. Or we could play out the Ringleader and try and get some card advantage that way. Interesting. There's a lot of options here. I think we play out the Ringleader. I don't know if this is good enough to get a removal spell, but it'll put a bunch of cards in our hand. Alright, and it'll also attack for 3. So we draw 2 cards. Any order's fine here. We're going to shuffle before we get to the bottom cards of our library because we've got fetches in our deck. Let's attack with this for 3, using our Ignoble Hierarch here. Okay, our opponent didn't do any sort of counter-spelly shenanigans there. And they didn't crack for a bolt to save their life total. So there is a possibility that our opponent is a combo deck. Something like a Sneak and Show deck. They could just be some sort of Delvery deck that had a slightly unusual start with no interaction on turn 1. Or Ponder. But I think we're going to get a lot of information this turn. City of Traitors. Okay, so this is a... Mox Diamond is unusual. It could still be a Sneak and Show deck. But the Mox Diamond is an unusual one. A Minsk and Boo. Okay. This is... So we need to get the Snoop out here. They can't really attack here, which is good for us. So what are we doing here? So we have this one. So... Our opponent's probably not going to mess with our mana base here. So I think we want to get a Badlands. So I think we want to get the Snoop out first. If we use these sources, the Hierarch can cast anything. Okay, we have a Food Chain on top of our library. So that's pretty big news for next turn. This has Summoning Sickness, so we can't play it. We can't do the combo right now. We need to buy ourselves another turn. So I think we are on cast this Lackey. And that should hopefully scare our opponent into maybe aiming removal at the Lackey rather than the Snoop. I was kind of hoping to bait some removal out before we played out our Snoop, but here we are. Like, we just have quite a lot of damage coming in soon, especially since we have the Ringleader, which if we can put in off a Lackey or cast before Lackey, we're going to have some pretty big hits. The Food Chain here is also pretty big news in terms of being able to cast a bunch of stuff. So opponent's some sort of rug concoction. I'm a bit uncertain about what they're doing given the selection of cards. It's quite an unusual combination. The Volcanic Island, City of Traitors, Mox Diamond, Minsk and Boo. That's an odd one. Maybe it's one of these like sort of Life from Below Me Hot Band-esque type decks, but the City of Traitors wouldn't necessarily fit in there. So I have to imagine our opponent is trying to cheat something into play early. Presumably a Show and Tell would be my guess. So it might be some sort of like Atraxa deck with Show and Tell that can also just cast the Atraxa later on anyway. But our opponent's got a few decisions to work through, so let's leave them to it. Okay, so they're sacrificing their Minsk and Boo here. They're going to dome one of our creatures. They're doming the Ringleader. Is this because we can sack it for 5 mana off Food Chain? Interesting. I think that's the wrong call, but we'll see what our opponent does here. We kind of need to resolve this Boggart Harbinger to really get there, and our opponent's got a whole grip full of cards right now. Sneak attack. Okay. They have an Emrakul. Emrakul will be pretty bad news for us. A Grizzlebrand. Okay, so they might be finding an Emrakul. So they're like a rug sneak attack deck. That's a bit unusual. I think they're going to give us some real trouble here, though. Is this an Emrakul? an Atraxa. So this is 14 damage. So we have the win next turn. Okay, they chose Lotus Petal and Emrakul the Aeon's Torn. I think that will do us there. Okay. How are we supposed to beat this one? One wonders. We can use Pyroblasts because they're probably going to have Show and Tell in their deck. So probably could have some sort of Elemental Blast here. The Carpet Flowers doesn't seem great since we've seen Taiga out of them. And the Soul Lands is probably not going to get us that much mana. And they're not messing with our mana. Surgical Extraction I don't particularly like here. Sudden Edict, if they put something scary in, is probably useful. So what does our thing look like? I don't think the Trashmaster is going to be that useful here. Stingscourger is going to be good to get rid of something that's in play. I don't think we need this Gut. The Chieftain is important because sometimes we can just play other stuff here. The Furies feel pretty weak. I think we're just bringing in other removal spells here because obviously the Red Blast hits the Atraxa. The Sudden Edicts can hit anything. I imagine this matchup is horrible because our opponent is kind of just doing a big thing that's really quick. If we'd have played a different line, we might have been able to just play the Snoop into something else. So what does this hand do? This hand is way too slow for this matchup. We're going to die before we do anything with it. Okay, a Lackey. Multiple Lackeys. Okay, I can jam with this. So we can Lackey, then we can cast a turn 2 Matron off of Cavern of Souls and put in Muxus if our Lackey survives. So this seems good to me. This is a turn 2 Muxus. Yeah, this is a turn 2 Muxus that dodges counter spells. Now, they're probably going to have something like... let's keep this. And does it matter which of lands of these you throw back? Like, we're going to get a Taiga with our Bloodstained Mire anyway. So we may as well just keep it and save a life point in case that becomes relevant. So, yeah, so they can't interact with us unless it's removal. They could bring in the 3-mana Sweeper that's like colourless for the purposes of damage. That's quite a popular one among like Show and Tell-esque decks usually. I'm kind of blanking on its name. Kozilek's something or other. It's 2 in a red anyway. Our opponent took a very long time deciding on their 6-card hand before they mulliganed to 5. Alright, they kept their 5. Cavern of Souls, we'll name Goblin. We will play a Goblin Lackey. So they can't counterspell this. So the ideal play for our opponent would just be if they just play Island Ponder, then we don't have to fear like a Lightning Bolt or anything. And then we can just play this uncounterable Matron, put a Muxus in, and hopefully do enough with that. So we'll see how this turn of our opponent's goes. If they have mana open for something like a Lightning Bolt, then we probably still have to do the Matron play, but it just gets awkward. So we have a Ringleader here. I think we are still doing the Matron play. Red. What am I talking about? We don't have the 3rd mana. What am I talking about? This isn't a turn 2 Muxus at all. Ignore me. So we play out the Hierarch. It's a turn 3, sorry. A bit later than normal for me. Alright, are we going to lose our Lackey or not? We're going to get this Ringleader into play. That's a lot of goblins right there. The full 4. If we play out the Lackey here, and they have the sweepery thing, how annoying is that for us? That's quite annoying. They would need to have Soul Land plus the Sweeper. I don't think we need to commit the Lackey to the board here. I think we can probably just hold up. If they do have the Sweeper, we can drop a Lackey if we don't draw another mana source. Alright, this looks like a Show and Tell, perhaps. Okay, I think we have to put in the Muxus and hope that we get enough permanence off of it. There's nothing we can do with the Kiki-Jiki here that helps us out. So I think we are on Muxus. Stingscourger. You absolutely love to see it. So draw 7 cards, but they are dead on board if they don't have anything else. Okay, they're drawing another 7 cards. So they must have Furies in their deck, I would imagine. Goodbye, Grizzlebrand. So they probably have some number of Lotus Petals here as well. That's going to have to be pretty useful. We can set up a Kiki-Jiki Stingscourger loop, so our opponent never gets to another Show and Tell. Okay. We'll put in this Sling-Gang Lieutenant. This will give us enough things that we can ping our opponent down whenever we want. Let's see what they got here. None of this does anything here. Like, they get 1 Spirit Guide if they want it, but that doesn't really take them anywhere. We can just ping them out with our Sling-Gang Lieutenant now. We can do our opponent's end step. Okay, they're scooping up. So that was pretty good. Sorry I made the mistake saying it was, I meant it was a turn 3 Matron, not a turn, sorry, a turn 3 Muxus, not turn 2, but it worked out. And I think our sideboarding is fine here, so we'll just go again. On the draw, I think our chances of this matchup are a lot lower. We saw a Trinisphere there, which is an interesting one. What does our hand do? We have a Hierarch into Blast. If we draw one more card, we have infinite mana. Into Matron. Yeah, one more land makes us have infinite mana. I don't think that's a problem. And we can hold up the Pyroblast to stop a show and tell if necessary. It won't stop the sneak attack though, so we're going to have to pick our spot. Our opponent's mulligan to 5 though, so that's a good omen for us. Sorry opponent, but I'll take it. I'm playing Goblins, so I'm definitely the good guy, right? So play this. This gets a Taiga, so we can cast our Ignoble Hierarch and then into our Blast next turn. We can hold up the Blast now, but I don't think we're winning that game if we're just holding a Blast the whole time. I think we need to play this and see if we can fade this turn of our opponents. Now he's going to multi-5, show and tell, a Trinisphere. Okay, that's fine. Not super fine, but alright. So they can't cast counter spells right now. So we'll say Goblin. We'll play the food chain now. Is that right? Is it the food chain? Black, green, and 1. Let's get this food chain out there. So next turn we can cast Squee and go infinite. And our opponent is locked behind their own Trinisphere. A sneak attack. They can't activate it this turn though. Unless they have a Spirit Guide. They do have a Spirit Guide. Wowzers, trousers, their hand was great. Oh, they multi-5 for turn 2 Trinisphere, turn 3 sneak attack Emrakul with a Spirit Guide. Yuck. We had the turn 3 kill. No, sorry, the turn... Yeah, that would be the turn 3 kill, yeah. Jeez. Alright, I guess we have to rebuild now while our opponent has no card in hand, but they have lands and a Trinisphere in play. Yuck. I feel pretty aggrieved by that one. Even that's Grizzlebrand, I think we'd probably still do alright there. Stingscourger. A mountain. I hope they brick all the way and we get to win. That'll be justice. We can cast this guy from our graveyard or exile, so in you go. So playing all these out so they can hard cast like an Attractor. 2, 4, 3, 5, 6. Yeah, they can hard cast Attractor if they want to. We're not casting any of these. What are we pitching here? We've got 2 Matrons. I guess we can get rid of 1. Sure, that'll do. Yuck! That's so annoying. I think the chances of them having all of those exact pieces are incredibly slim. But that's why you use a London Mulligan rule, right? You get to abuse it when you play these sorts of combo-y decks. Alright. I think that was a close one, but let's go on to... Well, we're probably going to lose this matchup most of the time, I think, because, you know, putting Emrakul into play is pretty strong. But we nearly got it. Alright, let's go to round 2. Okay, so we are on the play. No, sorry, on the draw for this one. We have a turn 1 Lackey. We kind of need a little bit of help for it. But we get a couple of draw steps before then. So I think we are okay to keep this. We got the Fury if we need it in a pinch. Let's see how we do. Windswept Heath. That's usually not a card you see in unfair decks. So that's a hope. This could be Nigh Adepts. Ignoble Hierarch. Oh, we might be going to mirror here. Guess we're playing Cavern on Goblin. Play out the Lackey. I'm probably disadvantaged in a mirror because I've not really played this deck before. Oh, okay, it's not a mirror. Interesting. A Canonist. Okay. If we draw Muxus this turn, we can pitch the Fury to the Kiki-Jiki and just go ham. We did not draw that. We probably can't attack with this either. Like, we can Fury this away, but it doesn't really get us anywhere. I think we're just playing out a Bloodstained Mire and passing. Poor little Goblin Lackey. Ignoble Hierarch. So this Ignoble Hierarch might just be like the... Oh, I guess one of them is probably like the 5th Hierarch rather than them having all of them, if you know what I mean. So our opponent looks like they're on some sort of Naya Maverick by the looks of it. So you sort of have a bit of overlap. Alright. Come on, deck. I guess we play out the Ancient Tomb this turn. And then we hard cast the Fury next turn. And then we just attack with the Goblin Lackey, put in Kiki-Jiki, and then they don't get to have creatures anymore. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So we'll probably play this Cavern out on Elemental. So I'm going to take another 4 from the Canonist here. Not a fan of that, but it is what it is, right? Just needs to get us a red source. Probably just a mountain is fine. We'll cast this. Sorry, play this on Elemental. Let's cast this. 1, 2, red, colorless, red. So floating some mana here. Let's see if we can strip out all of their things. Swords to plowshares on our guy. We go to attacks. I guess we don't go to attacks. We're going to target nobody with the endurance, sure. And I guess we're not attacking with our Lackey anymore. What a sorry little Lackey this one is. Alright, they probably keep this back to block unless they have another blocker. I think they'll attack with the endurance here, right? Because we're on 12. Yeah. Just have to take it, unfortunately. Okay. So this tap for green to make us an Ignoble Hierarch. This means our Lackey can attack into our opponents unless they have another another endurance, which would be bad for us. Okay. Let's play out this food chain. We just need something here, really. Like a tutor is pretty useful. Obviously the Boggart tutor's at the top of the library, so that's less good. But a matron would be nice. A ringleader would be incredible, and we'd probably win the game if we have a ringleader, I think. I think we're just going to have to cast the Kiki-Jiki this turn, potentially. Okay, they're holding 2 guys back. Interesting. Sling-Gang Lieutenant. That's a pretty nice one. So we have 1, 2, 3. Getting the triple red for the Kiki-Jiki is a little bit annoying, but we do have the ability to sacrifice some creatures for mana. So what are we doing here? I'm tapping 1, 2. Black for this. Probably this colourless one here. So now we have this. We can't cast another creature spell this turn anyway. So maybe we're supposed to use these and save ourselves the pain. Maybe that was a bit foolish. But next time we can start just Kiki-Jiki in this all the live long day. I think I'd rather play the city here. Yeah, we definitely took some damage we didn't need to take there. So next turn we can red, 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 2, play Kiki-Jiki, and just drain them out with Sling-Gang Lieutenant, just over and over again. They can bounce our Kiki-Jiki every turn. Knight of the Reliquary. So this gets on like a Tabernacle, which is potentially annoying, but not the end of the world. It's very hard for them to attack profitably into our Goblin token. A Muxus, though. That's pretty big news, isn't it? So we go red, red, 2, 3, 4. Let's go to Goblin Town. Oh, baby. That's a lot of goblins. And last one. So I guess we play our land, so we're discarding less cards. Oh, that was foolish, actually, because we didn't really want the Ancient Tomb there. So now what is the plan? We can't cast any more spells because of the Canonist. I guess we have to pass. Get rid of this guy. Get one of these. So if they have a Tabernacle in the deck they can tutor with via the Knight, then we can sack a load of guys or we can pay. And then next turn we can put... They can bounce our Muxus if they want to, but that doesn't feel great for them. I think the best draw in our deck right now is probably a Fury, but they might be able to Sajiri Step here. Okay, a Badlands. Sure. What would I like here as an option? We could play out the Chieftain just to pump our guys here. I think that's fine. So now we can go to attacks. So they're going to Caracas away our Muxus, I would assume. But we can attack him with a bunch of guys. And they're probably going to block the Lackey because they kind of have to. Muxus is enormous. So this guy's probably getting bounced. Something will block the Lackey, but then we're going to put a load of damage through and we'll drain them with the ones that are going to get killed. Okay, so these guys are going to trade. That seems fine by me. So we will sacrifice this goblin. We will sacrifice this goblin. The Lackey trading here is pretty good news for us. Swords to plowshares on this. Okay, so that's not going to happen, is it? Alright, so we will sacrifice this Chieftain, I suppose. It's dying anyway. We'll sacrifice this Lackey since it's going to die anyway. We hit our opponent for a decent chunk here. So they're going to bounce the Muxus as we suspected. I did put a bit of a dampener on our attack there though. And we didn't get to play anything this turn. Okay. They might just be pumping their knight just so they can do some big alpha strikes if they got like a Sajiri step in hand or something. Like we can sack these to pad our life total if we need to. Having the Kiki-Jiki in hand is slightly annoying because we can't set up any sort of Conspicuous Snoop infinite combo. Prince on 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if our Muxus finds enough goblins, we can kill them next turn. Provided we live. Okay, so they're sacking their land to get a saga here. I don't think this game's going to go long enough for this to do very much. Sure, you can make another one of those. It's fine by me. I don't think they can attack here, actually. Fury, please. Let's just get rid of this Canonist and go big. Okay, we got the Fury. I think we can evoke this. Pitching a Muxus, because we've got 2 of them. Although having 2 of them means you can just put loads and loads of stuff into play. Okay, I'll convince myself. Okay, and also with the trigger on the stack, we sack it to Food Chain. So this just casts our Muxus as well. Which is another reason this Fury's in the deck that I didn't mention in the deck tech. Alright, so we're looking at some sort of green, white, mavericky, Naya Depths type thing. So I think we would like some ways of interacting with Marit Lage. I don't think we want Surgicals here. We don't really have any way of messing with our opponent's hand too much. I think Stingscourger is also relatively useful here. An infinite combo against a fair deck is probably quite nice. I don't think we need this guy. I think he's going to get boarded out a lot, to be honest. They're going to have Wastelands, so we don't want to trim any of our mana-y type stuff there. We need to find one more cut to include the second Edict. It's probably the Trashmaster. We could board in Ley Lines. They're probably going to have some amount of life from the loan, but I don't think we're into that. I think we just want to have a little bit more removal so we can get rid of things like Marit Lage or that annoying little guy. Ooh. Okay, so this is turn 1 Lackey. If it connects, we make a Muxus on 2. That is pretty good. The issue is we're a little bit vulnerable to Wasteland if we get a Taiga here. Our opponent's deck's definitely going to have Wastelands in. Okay, excellent. So this one can just go get a basic mountain. We can play the Lackey. Next turn we can play the Hierarch and give our guy Exalted, so it might be able to attack into all sorts of things. Now if they play a Knight this turn, it's only going to be a 2-2. A Shadow Spear, sure. They don't have white mana available right now. So we'll crack this and go and get ourselves a Forest. We will play an Ignoble Hierarch and go to attacks. So their Noble Hierarch is probably going under the bus here. I don't think they can let us hit them with a Lackey. They could have a Lightning Bolt though. Okay, they've got a Plow that way. Sad, but true. So they're doing it so we only gain the 1 life there. Okay, so we can play a Ringleader next turn. Or we can play Hierarch and Ringleader actually. Yeah, we can play Hierarch and Ringleader then attack for 4. That seems fine. Conspicuous Snoop. I think we're always just going to cast this Hierarch here. Red. 2. Puts Ringleader into play. Having the Kiki-Jiki in hand really changes the value of the Snoop, I think. Okay, we get those 2. Any order. They're the same card. So. And then our hasty 4/4. So this will be an Urza Saga in combat if they want to make one. Kind of wish we had the Trashmaster now. Maybe I should board that back in if we go to a game 3. Sure, they're going to make as a Saga token. They're probably going to make one on their turn as well. So this is going to be a 4-power guy. And then bigger when they stick the spear on it as well. We do get to cast Muxus next turn though. Which is pretty strong. Haywire Might. This is to blow up the food chain so we can't go infinite. So they're living in fear of the food chain. Are they going to attack for 4? They are. Well, sorry, it's 5, isn't it? Because of the Exalted. Sure, we can take a chunk here. We've got this Agent 2 meeting into us a little bit, but I'm surprised they didn't put the Shadow Spear. Alright, so let's cast this. So we need 1, 2, 3, red. +1 Muxus, please. Boggart Harbinger and a Lackey. What would we like to put on top of our library? Any goblin. Any goblin at all. Not actually the easiest choice. Could be something really boring like a Stingscourger. Yeah, let's put the Stingscourger on. I can think about that decision for ages and probably come to the wrong one every time, but there you go. Let's attack with our 4/4. Okay, looks like they're going to be killing our guy in response, maybe. Surely you got to kill the Muxus if you've got removal here, though. Oh, they got Punishing Fire. Okay. So our life total is getting a little bit low. Now we can play the Sling-Gang Lieutenant next turn to pad. They can take out our Ancient Tomb, sure. But we do have 4 mana to operate on here, and it's all our colours. So we can play out the Sling-Gang Lieutenant, or we can play out like Snoop and the Bounce Goblin, which might be worth doing. Then we have to chump here. We're only on 5. Okay. We're gaining some life, but losing a Muxus. They're going to return their Punishing Fire, which they can use to pick off like a Lackey or something. They're not paying, which means they probably have a removal spell, because they've seen that we have the Stingscourger here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we can't play Stingscourger and our Matron, which is annoying. If we play the Sling-Gang Lieutenant, this is going to be a little bit of a problem for us. I think step 1 is attacking with the Lackey here. This will shrink their constructs because they'll have to block with the mites because they can't let us get a free goblin here. Yep. So there goes the Haywire Mite. They gain 2 life. Annoying, but not that important. So now we have some choices to make. So we can drop Snoop and Stingscourger. But how strong is that going to be? I think Stingscourger here is also a very good chump blocker. You can soak up some damage. Just having a little chat with my opponent. They seem to recognise my name, so maybe they've seen my channel. Go, Conspicuous Snoop. Okay, so we're going to have a bit of a jump in mana next turn. That's alright. So they can equip the construct and attack. That's going to take most of their turn, though. I don't think they're going to attack with just this. I guess they can. But, okay, so they're holding their mana open. We will not be paying the echo cost for this. Although, no, we shouldn't be paying the echo cost for it. Let's see what we draw. So there's a Goblin Chieftain on top of our library. Interesting. So we can play this and a Matron or a Squee. Interesting. Red. Let's cast this, leaving 1 on our pool. So now we can cast the Matron. Let's see what we find. This also shuffles our library because I don't really want to draw that land. So we can draw another Muxus. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can draw a Muxus, which is kind of going to force some different things from their part. So I think we'll do that. Let's attack with a big Lackey. This is going to require removal spells or chump blocking. Okay. They're valuing the construct over mana here. So, yeah. So I think we're okay still. I'm going to shuffle. I don't think they want to shuffle us because they would rather we drew a Bloodstained Mire, I think. They have to decide if they want to shuffle themselves to get the Urza Saga and the Haywire Mite and the 2 Plows in their deck. They will lose the Punishing Fires. They decided not to. A Wasteland. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're not casting Muxus this turn. Sylvan Library. That's a good one. They've got quite a lot of life to work with still. Let's see what we have on top here. A Cavern of Souls. Not interested in that. Let's crack. So we go and get ourselves a Badlands here. A Sudden Edict. Okay. So we can play a Kiki-Jiki, give ourselves more Matrons, or we can just play out our Sling-Gang Lieutenant so we're sort of covered in the damage race. Attack with this, get the Exalted trigger. They have to send something on the bus. They could double block here. I think they're supposed to double block rather than chump. They're not in a great situation either way, to be honest. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we've got 9 damage to ping at our opponent just through that. So they said they got 1 out in their deck. So I'm imagining it's some sort of sweeper perhaps. Okay, our opponent didn't draw any extra cards, which is pretty understandable given their current situation. But this has to attack this turn because they know we have a Sudden Edict on top of our library. So black and green is probably the less useful of those 2 colours. Goodbye, Endurance. Do we need to play Squee here? So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Yeah, I think we have them here. Because the Muxus is going to come in, make a load of guys, hopefully, and then we can ping them down. Cool. So we definitely got to do our thing there. We were against a deck that wasn't trying to put an Emrakul into play on turn 2 and 3. So that certainly helps. Cool. The sort of the mid-rangey, lots of value, lots of guys plan is pretty strong. What it is a little bit weak to is flyers, but thankfully our opponent was on the ground. We're on the play for the beginning of round 3. Our hand is very slow. I think we need to mulligan this one. Yikes. Kiki-Jiki loves being in my hand. Let's mulligan again. I think we keep this. We're definitely chucking this guy back. Probably chucking this guy back too. So, I think we lead out on the foothills so that we can at least be guaranteed to get our Conspicuous Snoop into play around Wasteland and Counter Magic. Let's see if that's going to be important or not. Okay. This is a Counter Magic-y land. So we could be looking at some sort of show and tell deck again, or like a Delver-based strategy. There's a lot of options our opponent could be running. Let's name Goblin here. This probably just needs to be a mountain, just so we don't get double wastelanded. Although, if we get a Taiga and we draw... Yeah, we get the Taiga in case we draw the food chain. A Muxus, you say? That's a long way off of where we are right now. But it doesn't take much in the way of food chains to get past that. Okay, so we're probably losing our creature this turn. Ponder. They're leaving open the red source, which is probably Lightning Bolt, Unholy Heat type jam. Whether or not they're looking for it now or they just have it, the fact that we're going to tap the other one makes me not entirely sure. I think you have to snap this off now in case, if you want to kill this, in case we draw something that you can, something that we can just play. So because of the situation we're in, I think we are just casting this Squee. We need to get some value back in case our opponent is going to be like trying to grind us out with value here. Why wouldn't you Lightning Bolt that first? We got to draw an extra card off of that because you took, like, you could have bolted in our draw step as well. They just let us draw a free card. That's wild to me. So we've got a Lackey on top of our deck though. And they know we have a Muxus in hand. So I have to imagine they have another removal spell. Or a way of stopping that Lackey connecting with them. There we go. That stops Lackeys connecting. Ponder. So they're going to attack with our Squee to try and clear this Baleful Strix. So our Lackey can come through. Also, we can recast Squee from the graveyard whenever we want. They shouldn't block here. They correctly identify that they should not block. So, what are we supposed to do is the question. We can play out the Matron. Or we can play out the Lackey and hope that we draw something like a Fury. It's a case of, I think we want to just be more efficient with our mana here. So I don't think we're going to get through right now anyway. So we can Goblin Matron. Get ourselves another card. What we like here. I'm certainly into the Conspicuous Snoop. I think that's quite a potent one that can just draw us a bunch of cards effectively. I think we just get more Snoops. We can also play Snoop Lackey in the same turn. If we could draw and resolve a food chain at some point though, we can just win the game by casting all of our spells. Narset. Sure. We don't actually draw additional cards in our decks. That's not so much of an issue. This definitely says that our opponent is a slower, grindier deck. Let's see what they're going to reveal here. Colligan's Command certainly kills our creatures. That's for sure. So we can attack Narset with both of them so that if it... I guess they might have some sort of wheel effect. Okay, Mystic Sanctuary. This is going to put the Lightning Bolt on top of their library. Yep, so they got Lightning Bolt and Colligan's Command as options for next turn. Now they're pondering, so they're going to draw out Lightning Bolts. That seems weird to me, because if the other cards on top of your library are bad, you're kind of going to keep it just so you have this Lightning Bolt. It's a weird play to me. We have to decide what we're doing in terms of attacking here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So pretty close to playing the old Muxus boy. I think we want to go red here and play the Snoop out. Get more information about what's on the top of our deck. An Ignoble Hierarch. Okay. I guess we're attacking with these guys. I think we're attacking our opponent here. I think this is just a Narset for value, not for trying to combo us out. Okay, so now they've gone for the block. So I think we are just playing out the... If we play out the Hierarch here, it does mean that we can just cast... Oh, we can just cast the Muxus next turn. So we don't want to play this land out in case it gets wastelanded. Although if they do some sort of wheel, we'd rather have it in play, I think. Alright. So we have Muxus next turn. We know they've got Colligan's Command in hand. We know they've got Lightning Bolt. So we're going to lose our Snoop. Days Undoing. Oh, they are a Days Undoing deck. Okay. They're not going to like this very much. But they deserve this. That's what happens when you play Days Undoing, right? Red. Green. Uncounterable Muxus. Enjoy. I think that was very greedy of them not to just be blowing up our guys there. Okay. So we get to Matron now. What would we like here? I guess we can take a Siege Gang. It's probably fine here, or just another Muxus that we can just play. Yeah, just chain the Muxuses, I guess. A Trashmaster. Okay, so we're going to attacks here. Kind of awkward, isn't it? Because we're exposed to Days Undoing here. I don't really think we care about Days Undoing too much. I think we just attack the Narset down here. We're keeping this Kiki-Jiki so that we can make Conspicuous. We can make another Matron and go and find something at end of turn. So we have our opponent dead next turn if they don't have a way of solving this problem that they're in. We can't copy Muxus with Kiki-Jiki, which is probably for the best in the grand scheme of things. We don't. Oh, they don't have this Colligan's Command anymore, so I think they should have just used the Colligan's Command to take apart our hand and kill a guy so we couldn't cast the thing, because they knew what we were drawing next turn as well. But I think they got greedy instead. Sure. A Baleful Strix. We can blow this up with a Trashmaster activation in the end step. So end of turn, Days Undoing. So we're going to lose our hand here. I think first of all we will... It doesn't really matter what we copy here, does it? There's no point using this. We're about to just draw one card. So copy this guy. Yes, we'll use the ability. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. So if we just go and get a Chieftain here. So we can go red. 1, 2, crack this. Get Taiga, that's fine. And red. So we'll cast this guy. And we go red, red, red. Okay, so we're going to cast this, attack with a bunch of guys, and smush our opponent. So, our opponent's got some stuff that I wouldn't mind Pyroblasting here. And the Carpet of Flowers might be useful. I don't think Stingscourger is where I want to be, and I don't think this Gut True Zealot guy is going to do a lot of work for us. So then we have 3 potential cuts if we want these in. Fury can kill Narset, but so can Red Elemental Blast. And Red Elemental Blast also have other text, so I think the Fury is probably what goes here, right? Which seems fine. This is the sort of matchup that I think we are supposed to be pretty good at. We'll keep the Trashmasters in so we can clear the way of Baleful Strixes. We don't really have removal now, but I don't think our opponent is going to present us much we want to remove. Oh, wowzers. This hand's pretty good. Sure, we have an uncounterable Lackey into Snoop, into Food Chain. So if the top of our library is kind to us, we can win the game super duper early here. There's probably going to be a Ponder from our opponent on turn 1. Underground Sea. Thoughtseize. Okay, so probably losing the Lackey, but it could be the Snoop or the Food Chain. It's not going to be the Lieutenant. Taking our turn 1 play. Let's see if they do that. They took our Snoop. Interesting. And Goblin. Cast this. Uncounterable Goblin for you. Ponder. So they're correctly pondering before they play their lands. They have most information about what lands they want to play. And I imagine our Lackey's getting Lightning Bolted this turn. Or it could be next turn. Interesting. Let's go to attacks. I don't think our Lackey is long for this world. Yeah, as expected. It ate it. Sure. So we'll play out a mountain. Next turn we can play out the Matron. And then we can Food Chain, Ringleader, and sort of go off a little bit. So we've definitely got a game plan here. They can counter our Food Chain. Okay, so there's Spell Dancer deck, sure. So let's play this guy. So this is red, 1, 2. I think we just get this Squee here. And then if our Food Chain resolves, we get to win the game. Well, not necessarily. We get to make 2 Ringleaders, a Sling-Gang Lieutenant, and whatever we find off the Ringleaders. Which is a pretty good way of jamming. Narset. Sure. Why were they not attacking with the Spell Dancer? Are they going to be blocking with the Spell Dancer? That seems wild to me. Let's see what they reveal. Address down. So you're saying it's the turn I should be trying to go off here. A Badlands. This lets us play around days, so it's just Force of Will that we're worried about now. I think we go... We just leave the thing up. If this resolves, we should win the game. Okay. So let's make some red mana. Exiling this. Let's play this guy. I have to go through this a few times, really. We're generating a boatload of mana every time. Well, not a boatload. We're generating 1 mana every time, but it's going to be a boatload in the end. Okay, so cast a Ringleader now. A Matron. And we'll cast this other one. Like, they've seen what we have now, so... Okay. So, yeah, we just generate a load of mana, and then we play our Matrons. We can go and get Sling-Gang. Well, what we're going to do is we'll probably go and get Snoop. Then we put Snoop into play, then we get Harbinger, then we do the combo. I think that's what we do with that hand. Cool, we managed to do the going off combo thing, which is pretty nice. Cavern of Souls, pretty powerful magic card. I don't know if that's what helped us get there, but it might have made our opponent board down on counter spells as well. But yeah, pretty happy about that. We are 2-1, I think, so let's go into round 4. Bit of a nombo mana-wise. We're on the draw for this one. This is one we can ship. This is uncounterable Snoop into Harbinger next turn, potentially. If we can keep this, we don't need all of these Muxuses. Muxi, whatever the plural of Muxus is. I played against this opponent the other day, but I can't remember what they were playing. Oh, they're playing Painter, that's it. Okay. So our creatures are probably quite vulnerable to lightning bolts and stuff here. Okay, so we'll play this out. We'll name Goblin. We'll go for playing this guy out. Maybe they'll bolt the bird, even if he's a very goblin-y looking bird. Then we go Snoop, and then we can win the following turn if they don't do anything. Okay, so they got rid of Phyrexian Dragon Engine. Now, they could win the game next turn, potentially. Can they win the game this turn? Unlikely, unless they have a Lion's Eye Diamond in their deck. A Goblin Welder, sure. A Goblin Engineer. Okay. So what are they putting into their graveyard? A Painter's Servant. Okay, so we could be dead next turn. I don't think we really have any recourse to play around that either. Food Chain. Does that change anything here? So you can play Food Chain, sacrifice this to play Snoop, sacrifice Snoop to play Matron, sacrifice Matron to get Squee, Muxus, play everything we get off, and then do the Muxus thing, and then hope we Harbinger it. So we can... Do we think our opponent's going to kill us next turn? So they have 1, 2, 3... So they have the Welder already. I think we're supposed to go. It's tough. Alright, so green, green, 1. Let's try this. Our opponent shouldn't be able to interact with us this turn. Now, this could be a mistake. Reveal the top 6 cards of your library. Put all Goblin creature cards. Okay, so we can put a Goblin on top with the thing. Okay, so let's exile this. Let's make 2 mana. Let's play this. Let's exile this guy. Some red mana. Let's play this. Let's go and get Squee. Exile this. Cast Squee. We got to do a lot of clicking here. I think our opponent is F6 now. Alright. Got to do this a whole bunch of times, really. Definitely better in paper to do this, because you just tell your opponent what you want to make. Okay, so sacrifice this guy for red again. So now we can cast our Harbinger. So Muxus is going to put this into play. So we have a choice of what we do here. I think we put the Trashmaster on top. And then we'll cast this Muxus. This means that if we don't manage to win this turn, we at least get to do a whole bunch of stuff. That's pretty rubbish. So we might have been able to win next turn. But we can blow up artifacts pretty effectively here. So this is the reason we got the Trashmaster. I'm trying to think if there's a way that we could have gone off that turn by getting something else, but I don't think there is. Like, we could put the Snoop on top and maybe try and draw a whole library, but if we hit 1 land and we do that, then it's just game over, whereas a Trashmaster means we can't lose the game the next turn and we have a bunch of guys in play. So I think that was the right line. So our opponent is going to make us board in Meltdown. I think Leyline of the Void and Surgical Extraction are also useful here. these are the things you want. I think the first thing to come out is Stingscourger and Guts. So that gives us a Meltdown and probably an Extraction. Then if we want anything else, we're going to have to... I think we probably don't have room for the ley lines. I think it's just the Extraction. Fury is pretty good here. A lot of their guys get chomped up by it. So what would we be trimming in order to do this? It's probably something like a Ringleader, because we're boarding in things that Ringleader doesn't find. Doesn't feel amazing. We could board out 1 copy of Food Chain, since we definitely don't want to see 2 Food Chain. But that does let us go off quickly. Let's try a Ringleader. And we're going to kind of keep the packaging, because red decks, they're going to have Painter if they want to interact with our Food Chain, so it's going to be a little bit tricky for them. This could be wrong, but I think it's okay. We could also bring in our own Pyroblast if we think they're going to have Painter in play, then we get to Pyroblast their Painter, etc., etc. But I think that's... oh, why? We can play this. I think we keep this. We've got a little bit of interaction for a welder here. And we do have the Snoop combo set up. Okay, so there's a welder. So we've got that covered with the Extraction, for a turn at least. I would like to draw a red source. We did not draw a red source. I think we're supposed to play... The only issue is we might need the other colour later. I think we're supposed to play out the Hierarch off of the forest here. So next time we play the Snoop, the turn after we play the Matron getting the Harbinger, the turn after we play the Harbinger, put the Kiki-Jiki on top, kill our opponent. Okay, suck. So this represents Grindstone in a few turns. A Goblin Engineer. What are they going to put into their graveyard? A Painted Servant, probably. Okay. A Fury. Pitching Goblin Welder. So we're going to lose our Hierarch here. So they have a Welder, so they can put the Painter in. So what are we doing here? Like, if we... Yeah, we have to play this out. This has to go just to cast for this. This needs a red source, but if we want to cast this, it has to be a red-green source. We probably need a Taiga. Then we cast a Hierarch. So part of the problem we have now is that our opponent has 2 welder-type effects. So our Surgical Extraction is going to struggle a little bit. Especially since one of them can exchange and the other one can sack. So it's going to be tough. So there's another Engineer. Okay. So drawing a Fury here would be pretty useful for us. We could strip out the Engineer and the Welder. A Torpor Orb. Interesting. A Soul Guide Lantern. Sure. Opponent has no cards in hand. So if they go to weld this Torpor Orb in, we get to surgically extract things. So in this turn we go and get ourselves Badlands. Then we go red, red. Put the Snoop into play. A Lackey on top. I think we're supposed to cast the Matron and force the action on the Torpor Orb here. So we go red, red here. They're going to weld in the Torpor Orb here. So we baited them into doing the Torpor Orb. We can win without a we can win with a Torpor Orb in play, but I don't think they can win with a... Well, they can win without a Painted 7, but it's going to be pretty challenging for them. So they don't get to use their Engineers. They don't get to... yeah, so they're going to pivot into activating their Ezra Saga here. So they don't get to use their Engineers when they come into play. Their Fury can't kill our creatures anymore. Yeah. What is the Saga going to find? It might just get Pithing Needle on Conspicuous Snoop. That's probably a relatively good line here for them. A Grindstone. Are they just going to try and manually grind us? We did exile all of their painters. We didn't leave one back. No, they're all there. Interesting. I think you get the Pithing Needle there. And just put it on... They might not have a Pithing Needle in their list, to be fair. Or they might have boarded it out. We do get to just cast cards from the top of our library here. And we can just find a Trashmaster at some point. So if we attack with this, it's going to be 3-3, which is not big enough. So we'll play this out. And I guess we play out the Ancient Tomb. We can attack with our Conspicuous Snoop, but that doesn't really do anything for us. If we can find a Trashmaster, then I think we're in a good spot. Sure, so they're going to use... Okay, so they're going to keep welding their Torpor Orb out so they can get their own activations. That's pretty sweet. And they're probably going to exile their grind... They're probably going to get rid of their Grindstone here. Yeah, sure. I'm not sure they wanted the Torpor... I think they should have got rid of their Grindstone because they can just keep drawing cards off of the Soul Guide Lantern and use that as card advantage and draw an additional card every turn. So this construct's probably going to bash us, and we just let it hit us, I think, this turn. I think our creatures are too valuable in play. A bit of a swing and a miss there. So we can attack with this one. So this is 1, 2, 3 power. So if we attack with this one. If they have a lightning bolt, our guy's dead anyway. So I think we attack with a 4 power guy, and they can't block it with all these. Our opponent knows what we drew. We do have double red anyway, so we're just going to name Goblin here. We need to find some action here. A Trashmaster is probably game. The guy that lets us sack goblins to drain life is probably good. We don't get the tokens when he comes into play, but we do get the ability to just chump block this and drain a life. And it makes combat really difficult. Wowzers trousers, that's the one we wanted. So red, 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 I guess. We've got the Hierarchs if we need them. Okay, so we've got Fury on top of our library for next turn, so we can really do some work on that one. I think we attack with this guy. He's now going to be a 5/5. Obviously, they can well stuff in and out. So they can grind off the cards they see on top of our library, which is a little bit annoying. I'm surprised they didn't weld off the Trashmaster. I guess because they've got to grind off the Trashmaster. But I guess they've got so many options with their engineers and things. We'll double block here. We just want to reduce the amount of things they have in play here. The amount of artifacts. So if they activate here, then we can use our Trashmaster. So we can destroy this Torpor Orb. So we're going to weld a Torpor Orb and the Lantern. We're going to destroy this one, sacrificing this Matron. Okay, so we don't take any damage from this turn. Opponent doesn't have the mana up to grindstone us. So if the top card of our library is good, which I hope it is, then we get to do something with it. Okay, so this is the win here. Is this the, oh no, this won't have any activate abilities, will it? Let's go black. 1, 2. We'll play this guy. They don't have a Torpor Orb in play right now. But we can sacrifice 2 different goblins to change that. This should be game, I think. Our opponent's got 1 card in hand, though. It was a removal spell for our Snoop. So this will tap for red. And then we will destroy this, sacrificing our Hierarch. So now they're probably going to weld in the other one. Or they're just going to let this resolve. Sure, so we'll destroy this, sacrificing our Hierarch here. This resolves. We go and put Kiki-Jiki on top of our library. So this one copies this one. Okay, so we're going to make a bunch of guys, then we're going to copy the Harbinger and go and put the guy that drains on top of our library and then just drain our opponent out. So we managed to grind through their stuff pretty well. I think if they had a Pithing Needle in their deck, when they got the Grindstone, that was a mistake. It felt like they were using it so that they can control our Snoop draws, because they can see what we're doing and sort of play like the old Lantern control decks used to do. But I think the correct play there is to Pithing Needle this so that we can't combo, but they might not have known about the combo. Alright, also they might have been wanting to mill themselves to find certain things they could bring in as well. Alright, so we're 3-1, going for the 4-1 in the final match. On the play for the final round, our hand is way too slow and doesn't have mana, so let's mulligan it. We need to find like a Taiga or something for this hand to actually play the game. Like if we find a Taiga, we do just kind of win the game. I think we can do better though. This looks better. We'll keep this. So I don't think we want the Squee yet. And probably not the Trashmaster. Let's play this out on Goblin. If you haven't guessed, I'm having an absolute blast playing this deck. This is Legacy as it was meant to be. People making goblins, turning them sideways, and occasionally doing really silly things with them. Right, let's see what our opponent's on. Let's see if we can get an idea from their first turn. Urza Saga. That doesn't give us a lot of information. Let's see if they put any peripherals around it, like stuff. Spellbomb. Okay, so our opponent's 8 cast or paint cast. Mox Opal. Tap the Mox Opal, play something, give us more information. Emery. So we might get some information from our opponent's graveyard. Wish we still had that Trashmaster, but I think in blind you have to put back the Trashmaster then. Let's see what we draw and see if it makes a difference. A food chain, you say? A food chain. So if we play food chain now, next turn we can play Matron and then Ringleader. Do we think our opponent's got a counterspell in hand? I don't know. I guess we go and get this Taiga. Cast this food chain. Well, if they have Force of Will here, they're going to be left with 1 card in hand, and they don't really have anything good going on with their graveyard right now. Like, they got the Bauble. That's fine. You know, they're drawing extra cards. but I think we're in an okay-ish spot. Next turn we have infinite mana plus Ringleader. So we just need to hit something there. They could Ether Spell on our Hierarch here. That would be annoying, but we can replay it and sack it for 2 mana. So we kind of get to do it either way. Our Matron will be uncounterable, our Squee will not be. But I think that's fine. We can cast Squee from the graveyard or from exile, so we can always just go again the following turn. A Thought cast. So our opponent is certainly digging into their deck. This Cavern of Souls is very important, I think. A Lotus Petal. They can lose their Lotus Petal to Ether Spell on our Hierarch if they want to. They do want to. Okay. So we need to draw a land, or we have to make a choice as to which of our things is uncounterable. Okay, I think we'll just play out this Hierarch. So we'll sack this guy for 2 mana. So red, play this guy. Let's go and find Squee. Okay, looks like we're going to get to do our thing here. They might be saving the counter spell for like the payoff. I've got 9 mana. Let's cast this guy again. Sacrifice this guy. We've got 10 mana. Let's cast this guy. Let's see if this resolves. This does resolve. I guess we will use its ability. We'll go and get Muxus, I guess. There might be a better option to that. I don't know. We want to make sure we have loads of mana each time we loop here. Okay, they're just going to concede because we've gone and got the Muxus. They didn't have a counter spell. Excellent. So, Meltdown feels pretty good here. The blasts feel pretty relevant. I don't really like this. The extractions have some text on them. Stingscourger is okay for bouncing constructs, but that's about it. The Fury, I'm not really into the Fury in this matchup. So I think they can come out. We definitely want this. This Zealot guy is coming out every round. I don't think he's supposed to be in the deck in the way that things are now. So I'm boarding in the extractions because I think our opponent is on Paint Cast, because I think Paint Cast is better than 8 Cast. Now, I could be wrong. If we're boarding all of these in, we probably want to board down a Ringleader because we have less hits. So I think that's probably fine. Now, we do have to wade through potentially some Hydroblasts. But I think we're good here. So we showed them one combo. Hopefully they're not that familiar with the Conspicuous Snoop one, and we can sort of slip it in underneath them like we did the mono red painter player. We have Cavern of Souls. That's essential. I think we'll keep this one. We can Snoop into Matron for Harbinger, and then play Harbinger and win the game. These decks tend to have very low amounts of removal, but they can board into things like Dismember. So we're hoping to... Okay, so it's not really removal, but it's going to slow us down. We don't know quite what our opponent is capable of producing, whether they're on painter or not. I think we'll play this Cavern of Souls on Goblin. We'll pass. So the Snoop is probably going to get bounced with the Spell Bomb. But they don't have blue mana just yet. They can find some. Okay, so this extraction might be quite a useful one. So let's play this one out on Goblin again. Let's make a little friend. This does show our opponent what the top card of our deck is, which can be... Okay, so it's a land. They're not really going to care about that. If the card underneath is Kiki-Jiki, then we're in pretty good shape. Okay, so they're going to make a token. Sure. I think we race this token, or just we race the Saga plan as long as they don't have a blue source. I guess they get a blue source off of the Saga, but that means they're not going to get the Shadow Spear. Let's see what they find off of the Saga. A Mox Opal. Yes, they found the blue source. They can bounce the Snoop. And they got another blue source. Sure, Thought Monitor. That's pretty good. I still don't know if they're Painter or regular 8 cast. We haven't seen a Chalice or anything. So it's going to be hard to tell. So this is quite a lot of damage coming in us. They're going to bounce it in my turn, in their turn, so that I don't get it. Yeah, okay. That's correct from our opponent there. They are representing lethal damage next turn, though. That's a bit of an issue for us. So what is our play here? I think our play is Goblin Matron. So this is definitely dying next turn. So we have to block here. So we take 6, 7, 8. Just trying to think if there's a way that we can... If we get Muxus with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can't cast Muxus next turn. So it's definitely not that. We get the Trashmaster, and he can chump and then blow something else up. But that doesn't really get us anywhere. If we get the Chieftain, then we can go 3, 4, 5 mana which is enough, but not enough red pips to cast Snoop and Chieftain and try and win by getting lucky. So I think that means we've got to put... Oh god, what does that mean we've got to put on top of our library? Doesn't feel great. We can put the Sling-Gang Lieutenant, and that buys us some turns. Yeah, I think that's what we've got to do. Right, so we have the Sling-Gang Lieutenant, so we can chump block a couple of things and try and survive a little bit longer. The other option we had was get the Squee. Okay, we just dead this turn anyway. Sure. The other option was we get the Squee and try and draw into food chain, but our opponent just sort of battered us a bit there. Maybe we want a Stingscourger to bounce a token. Is that really what we want to do? That doesn't feel like what we want to do. We don't know if they're on Painter or not. It's so annoying. Right, let's put these Stingscourger. Let's put a Stingscourger in, and maybe a Ringleader here. Let's just try and do our thing. Okay, we put a Lackey into play on turn 1. Hope it does stuff. This will not be a round of Force of Will though. If this was a Cavern, that would be a bit better for us. This is a 1-lander, but we have 2 mana dorks. But if we put the Lackey in and they can't kill it, then we get to do a lot of stuff here. We can put in the Kiki-Jiki and use it as mana if we want to by copying our Hierarchs later on. Or we can just put in the Ringleader and draw some more cards. I think I'll be inclined to put the Kiki-Jiki in. Now, there's a multitude of ways that our hand goes wrong and we lose this game. But turn 1 Lackey on the play has to be answered by a Force of Will most of the time. A lot of their other things are going to be too slow to stop this before it connects. Due to Caverns, they might have been a bit lighter on the counter spells. They might have bordered down on them. We've gone for the high risk, high reward hand. And now we're waiting to see what our opponent does with their opening hand, whether or not they keep it. I think our opponent disconnected there briefly. Okay, so we're in the game now. Taiga, Goblin Lackey. Let's see if that works. Okay, it's in. If they can somehow dismember and Chalice of the Void this turn, I'll be very upset. There's a Saga. This does cast Dismember. Mox Opal. There's a Bauble. Lotus Petal. And nothing else. Okay. I think we only attack for 1 here. Because if we get a Ringleader, we might be able to play a 3-drop here. Petty Theft. Very rude. So now, if we play out a Lackey, they can just block it with their guy now. So I think we are on playing out this guy. So if they have a mana source, they just get to make the Saga. Yeah, so there's a mana. So they've got Urza's Saga up and running. They probably wouldn't lead out an Urza's Saga unless they could activate it. So playing the Lackey there would be a bit of a trap. This is where they put a Painter's Servant into their graveyard. No, they did not. Okay. A Lotus Petal. So our opponent's hand doesn't have that much going on. They do have Bauble redraws with the Emery, but that's about it. So not so bad for us. How big are these constructs? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's certainly bigger than what I'm doing, isn't it? This is really annoying. I wish this was another land. Any other land in our deck, in fact, would be better than this. So I'd like to develop our mana. I guess we're supposed to play out the Ringleader and draw some cards, hopefully. What have you got, deck? Just a Chieftain. And the Meltdown going to the bottom. Boo earns. We can attack with a 3-3, but they have a bigger creature. So let's not do that. If this Ancient Tomb was a red source, then we could have played out the Hierarch here as well. And then next turn we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana, including triple red. Which means we could play Ringleader and Chieftain. Or Kiki-Jiki and start doing some silly things that way. No, I think we're just going to lose to Saga. Because of our own mana base, I think. I think that turn of only being able to make 1 spell there might come back to bite us. In quite a big way. They're probably just going to get a Shadow Spear here and just go to the races. Seems reasonable. They could get a Spell Bomb just to clear away anything weird that happens. Yeah. So they'll probably get rid of our Hierarch, actually. Well, they'll attack first. And then they can bounce our Hierarch. And that'll be really annoying. They could even bounce our Ringleader because I don't think they care about us recasting it. I guess if we draw a Food Chain and they don't have an answer for Food Chain, then they're going to want to get rid of the Ringleader. And they have the Shadow Spear in hand as well. Okay. And now they get to equip this and have a big old bash, and we can't really stop them. So they don't have Force of Will in hand, though. So if we draw a food chain, we can probably win the game. Although they could Urza's Bauble into a... okay, they've targeted Kappa Cannoneer, so they're just trying to kill us next turn. But I don't think that's necessary. Like, I think they already have us dead next turn with what's on board. I don't think that's necessary at all. Now they give us an option to chump block here. If we chump block here, we're still probably dead next turn anyway. I think we just have to take it and try and draw food chain. They've given us a window where we can win the game. An Ancient Tomb. Jeez. The worst draw in our deck. How are we supposed to get around this? Chieftain doesn't do it. If we Ringleader, then what? We can't play the Kiki-Jiki. I think we just have to play a Ringleader here. Go on, let's just smash ourselves in the face. I think we've just lost this due to our own deck here. So we can Harbinger for whatever, but we're just going to die to these things. I don't think there's a way that we can win this game. I think we just concede it. Sure, that's a bit unlucky. We kept a bit of a tough one in that last one where we needed them to not have the immediate answer to our guy. They did have an immediate answer, which is a bit of a pity. But even though they did, if we'd have drawn a coloured source the turn before, we could have deployed more things and had more mana to do stuff on the following turn. And if we'd have drawn a food chain on the last turn, we would have won the game. Not 100%, but pretty likely, because we get to look at 8 cards and put all the goblins into our hands. I think we still had a bit of play there, and I would not necessarily mind playing against that matchup again. I do just think 8 cards can have these really powerful things. So they're making like 8 power guys on turn 2. So they were killing us on, I think it was like turn 4 or 5. They were doing lethal damage after interacting with us as well. So it's just an awful lot. But 8 cast, from my experience, can also have some pretty ropey hands. So I think we kind of got unlucky that our opponent had 2 games in a row had kind of like the best hand they could have against us with like the Saga straight off. All right, let's talk about the deck. So this deck felt great, to be honest. We did lose to ourselves with these Ancient Tombs in the last round. That's a bit of a pity. We did draw back-to-back Ancient Tombs to draw 3 of them, which kind of cost us, I think. But I guess we had the City of Traitors. So I guess there was... Those 5 lands were basically the worst draws for us there. Like, Muxus wouldn't have been great either, to be fair. But most of the other stuff in our deck played there. So I think this deck is pretty good. I think, obviously, this guy, the True Soul Zealot, I think it's called, yeah. So this, I don't think, should be in the deck at the moment. I think this was just a caveat for initiative. If someone who plays this deck knows better than me and tells me I'm wrong, then please tell me I'm wrong. But I think that's what this is here for. So you can just steal the initiative off people. But I don't think that's relevant anymore. So we can have something a bit more useful in our main deck instead of this. Now, quite what that will be, I don't know, because I'm not a Goblins player. Like I said, I've never played this food chain build before. But it felt really strong. It felt like we had this really good sort of grindy plan where we could just keep making aggro threats and eventually beat our opponent down. But we also had these I win buttons in terms of like the Snoop combo and the food chain combo where we could just sort of do everything we wanted as well. The Furies are quite a nice addition here. Obviously with food chain they're very good because you can evoke one the turn you play food chain and then sack it to food chain and then just cast a Muxus on turn 3 or possibly turn 2 with your Ignoble Hierarch. So this deck has a lot of ways of making turn 2 Muxus or like just turn 2, turn 3 kills, which is pretty good for an aggro deck that's got a lot of card advantage and grind and redundancy in it as well. So yeah, I really like this deck, and I probably will play it again at some point. Obviously not for a little while, so I like to sort of cycle through decks to make sure the channel stays fresh. But this deck feels really strong, and I think you should give it a go. Obviously, when the Unfinity cards come to Magic Online, there's the Sticker Goblin, which is basically a 2-mana goblin that more or less casts Seething Song. I think it gives you 3 to 6 mana or something stupid when it comes into play. So it's just another way you can just make Muxus. Muxus finds one, gives you a load of mana. So that's probably a way this deck will change when that happens. Maybe it doesn't need to do the food chain stuff in that case. It can just kind of go off with those goblins. I don't know. But I do think the infinite combos tend to be pretty useful right now. So yeah, I think the deck's good. I just cut this for something more relevant in the current meta. Sideboard-wise, I wanted more meltdowns, but I think that might be to do with the fact that the metagame has shifted a little bit because of the initiative ban. This is like a pre-initiative ban deck list. And I imagine more meltdowns would probably be in the build now. But other than that, yeah, this deck was great. I think we're done talking about that. I just really like this deck, and it was fun. It attacks on Grandee and Wombo. Like, what more do you want, really? Okay. Now, nothing left to say apart from please like this video. It helps boost me in the algorithm. I took a bit of a hit the other day in the algorithm because I posted a video about the initiative the day after it got banned, so it was not really very relevant. A lot of people skipped over it, which is annoying, even though it was a really great league and I was like one card away from the trophy in it, but nobody's really going to watch it because nobody cares because the deck's outdated. So if you could like my video, that really helps push me up the algorithm. And share my video to people who might be interested. I'm looking for new subscribers, so please subscribe to my video, to my channel, because if I can hit 1,000 subscribers, I can get monetized and get a bit of money back for these videos that I put a lot of time and effort into, so that'd be great. And I'd also like to hear from you. Like, what would you like to see me play? What would you like to... anything that you don't like about my channel? Obviously, you know, be constructive with your criticism, please. But I'm interested to hear from you, see what you want. I'm also thinking about doing a Discord channel for my channel once the... or a Discord server, I should say, for my channel once the subscriber count hits 1,000. And I'm not gonna do like a Patreon to charge people. I'm just gonna let people come and hang out and do stuff. So that'll be an easier way of sending me deck lists when the time comes. So help me get to 1,000 subscribers, and you can send me more deck lists and spam me, and that'd be great. I think I've done plenty of plugging there. So with that, thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.